Hello, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Mels with 1S, but you can call me Mel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the update of the Rhaphidophora Tetrasperma cuttings that I did a few months back. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed within the last couple of months. It's been a while since I pressed the record button, but definitely seeing people stick around and commenting on my videos definitely motivates me to continue to share with you my plant mom journey. So thank you for hitting that subscribe button, and I hope you are excited to see the updates of these cuttings. There were a few people that did reach out to me either on YouTube in the comment section in the last video where I was doing the cuttings, but then there was also a few people that reached out to me on Instagram, so it's pretty awesome that we're all connecting and talking about plants. So if you also want to follow me on Instagram, this is my link or my tagline. Also, I will be sharing with you some things that I may do next time or things that I would change. I think the cool thing about me being able to record the experience is that for you to not make the same mistakes, and hopefully I save you a bit of time, and also I save you a bit of cuttings in order to be more successful with your propagations in the future. So I'm going to start off with showing you the clips from the last video. I did a cutting in soil, I did a cutting in perlite, and I did a cutting in water. So I did use 3 different methods, and I do still have all 3 cuttings. So I will be showing you each of them and let you know how they look like now. Closer to the end of the video, after I've shown you the cuttings, I am gonna also show you the mother plant, just because there was someone that commented asking what happened to the mother plant after I cut her. Did she start growing from the side, from the top? What happened? So there's some exciting news on that. So definitely stick around and I will show you the mother plant as well. So the first cutting I'm going to show you is the one that I placed in water. And it's also the cutting that I ended up starting to see a little bit of a white growth point, which I assumed it was going to be a leaf, but I hadn't seen roots yet. And then I did keep it in water, and I believe the root started to rot, which obviously I was a little concerned about. I thought I was gonna lose the cutting, but then I thought fast, and I ended up placing it in sphagnum moss.
I also recommend leaving the cutting out to callus over for 30 to 60 minutes.
But I did end up changing the medium just because I want to start experimenting that if I could revive the cutting. So needless to say, I do still have that cutting. It has been in sphagnum moss for a while. So here is the original leaf. I did not lose it. And these are the roots. I try to take off as much sphagnum moss as possible, but this is the length of the longest root. And yes, I do need to repot it. It's probably good to go in its own soil medium. And it has put out a little leaf. Now, because it's a cutting, it's not going to look mature like the original leaf. It's going to take a bit of time still. So this one, I think it has a little bit of bacteria on it, I don't know, but there is already another growth point happening, so there is a leaf about to shoot out as well. So I'm just gonna keep monitoring it, see how it looks, but this is already its own separate plant, and obviously sphagnum moss worked, and I was really shocked because it definitely grew a lot faster when I placed it in the sphagnum moss. So that's a tip, that if you feel like the plant's not doing well in the water or it does rot, you can stick it in moss and you could revive it, or at least that worked for me. So that was a success, partially, almost failed, but ended up being a success. Now the next one I'm going to show you is the one I had in soil. So this cutting, it also had some trial and error. If I show you a clip from the last video, it was a longer stem, so I ended up having 2 nodes that were cut off, and I ended up putting one of the nodes under the soil. Now, one error that I did was I cut way too close to the node because it did start to rot. So I had to cut it once, and then I got a little too close to the node. I showed you in the other clip on another video where I was showing you my propagations, and you could see 2 smaller roots on it. So it was successfully rooting, but it was really hanging in there because I just did not provide enough a stem in order for it to really callus over and not rot right to the node. So that's one thing I would recommend, is just make sure that there is a bit of space under the node when you do cut it. So with that being said, it did end up rotting in the soil. Another piece that I maybe did wrong or should have monitored was how wet the soil was. The roots did end up rotting. I feel like I put it in too much soil. Sorry, I'm trying not to show you it yet. Maybe I put too much soil in the container and ultimately it just sat in soil, or I probably should have not watered it again after I did put it into my propagation container. So these are all things that I think back and said, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. So you're welcome. I'm kind of saving you the time there. So what I ended up doing was cutting it now further up to the second node that I had on that cutting. And I ended up submerging that into soil with another plant. And that ended up being more successful because I wasn't watering it as frequently. And obviously I was letting it dry out a bit more without really soaking it and letting it sit in wet soil. So I still have that cutting, and I may have to do a little bit of a close-up for this one, but you see there's a little growth point peeking out, and again, I'll just place a picture if you don't see that clearly. And that was a success. This soil has more perlite than the other soil did, so I think that's something else to take into consideration. Again, maybe this is just me trying to figure stuff out, but definitely add more perlite, more orchid bark, less soil. That way it's not absorbing too much of that water. So this cutting, this is the original leaf. I still have it, and there's already a leaf growing. If you want to see an update, you can always follow me on Instagram, or maybe if people are requesting another update, I'll show you the cuttings again in a few months to see how they're doing. But yeah, so another success with the soil, with a couple of trial and error situations, but I think it's part of the process of learning, which is a good thing. Now, the third one I'm going to show you is the one that I had in perlite. Also, this is a total side note, but you may be looking at this spot, you'd be like, okay, Melissa, what did you do there? But I do have it with a silver sword. It's a baby silver sword that was attached to the mature mother plant that I have. And I just placed these both together. One reason is just to save space and not having to put small plants in pots. So there's no really rocket science theory to this. This is just me trying to save space. But I mean, if they're both doing good, then I guess they're doing good in good company. They're just, you know, cheering each other on. Like, this one has a new leaf and this one has a new growth point. So hey, if this works, find it a good mate and it'll do well. But anyways. Now for the third cutting, the one that was in perlite. So let's just say I got impatient. A lot of people are having great success with perlite, but I don't know, for me, I don't know if I just did it wrong or I'm just impatient. Now, one thing that I may have been able to do to maybe speed up the process was leave the perlite soaking in water. I think a few people do that. I've seen some YouTubers talk about rinsing the perlite or letting it sit in water and then draining it. And that's not something I did. I just watered it normally. So I put the plant in the perlite and then just watered it and put it into the prop box. So I don't know if it just wasn't wet enough that it wasn't really activating the node, but that's kind of the only thing that I can think of. So if you are using perlite, then I would suggest checking out some other YouTubers that really have experience with using perlite as a propagation method, because they will show you that they soak the perlite and then they drain it with a strainer, and then they will take the perlite, put it in the pot, and then place the cuttings in it. So definitely that's one thing that I would have changed if I were to do it over again. So because I was impatient and the cutting that was in soil was doing well, I actually ended up placing the perlite cutting into soil with another plant, just like I did the other one, and it is also thriving, and the soil medium is the same. Like I said, it has perlite, orchid bark, and then just potting soil. So here it is. Don't mind this guy. So the cutting is the one right in the front here. Again, I will insert a picture if it's too small. But it is doing well. I still have the original leaf and I have a growth point, which I feel has been the best method for me, especially because it's in a smaller pot with another plant. I'm not going to overwater it like I did with the original cuttings in soil. So definitely learned from that. Again, no rocket science with me putting it with this Syngonium Albo. Although it is doing excellent if you haven't seen that video. So now it's time to show you the mother plant. So I have her pot at the bottom on the floor, and she is crawling up this skid that I have on the wall. Now I'm gonna get up close and show you where I cut her and then what happened. So this is where I cut the plant. You can see the top spot is where I cut the plant, and then she shot the new growth off the side. Let me see if I can angle it better. But you see that? And then she started growing upwards towards the ceiling. I'm trying to tame her, which is very hard. But if you are to cut the plant, she is gonna grow from the side. She's no longer gonna grow from the top. Now, if I bring you downwards, she did also push out a growth halfway up the plant, and you see there she shot out this vine, which now I'm trying to hold with that thread or string, and she is growing sideways. So it's pretty cool that because I did that one cut, she has pushed out now 2 vines. I have seen a few more people that have done this, and you may see some white spots on the nodes, which is what's gonna happen if you do cut the plant. It just depends. She may push out 1 growth, she may push out 2 new growths, but for me, she just pushed out 1 and then obviously continue to grow up towards the ceiling. But yeah, so I'm really happy to report that all 3 cuttings are doing well. If I missed anything, if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below and I will chat with you about it. But other than that, I also just wanted to say that it is a lot of time that you have to kind of commit to these propagations, just because you do have to monitor them, you do have to kind of practice each method, and you will definitely find a way that works for you. Just because certain methods worked for me does not mean it's going to work the same way for you. So I definitely recommend trying all 3, and also sphagnum moss, because even I learned through this process that sphagnum moss is a good option for my plants. But before I wrap this video up, I do want to say again, thank you so much for sticking around. I hit 500 subscribers, which was a goal for me for a while now, and I kind of stopped recording. Where I live, we're still in stay-at-home order, so I hope you're doing well and staying safe wherever you are. But I am hoping that I can find the motivation to continue to share with you my plant mom journey and not let, you know, whatever's going on in the world affect me bringing content to you, because like I said, I have definitely connected with a lot of you through my comment section and through Instagram, and it just brings me so much joy to be able to chat with my plant lovers and be able to share the journey together. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.